Okay, hi everyone. This is movie 3 for chapter 3. And we left off on page 178. So we're going to move from, we did a couple queries using the wizard, but honestly, most queries are done in design view. So we are going to start building some queries using the design view, and you're going to become very proficient at it. So this very first one that we're going to do, if we look at the bottom of 179, the manager of the spa wants to have a printout of price lists for all products. So she wants the description, the size, and the price for each product. So when you get a request from a user, they want to see something, what you have to do is analyze, okay, where is all this information at? And in this particular case, all of the information is one table. Most of the time it is not, it's in multiple tables, but in this one it's one. So we're going to start off that way. So I'm going to create and in query design. So the first thing that happens is you get the show table. And at this point you pick the table or queries, tables, queries that you're using as an underlying where the data is stored, right? Because remember, the data is only stored in tables. So you'd have to pick that out. So we're going to pick product. And this is just one. So we're just going to add that and close it. And then what I always do is I always drag this down so I can see all of it. And then I usually like to bring that up so it's closer together. And there's a lot of different techniques for moving fields down to the grid. I usually just double click on the name, but you could certainly do a drop down, you can drag, and on 179 it talks about the different techniques. So if we look at what we want product description, so I'm going to double click on it. We want price, double click on it, and size, double click. And so right now, okay, so we now have the fields down here in the grid, and I just want to talk a little bit about this. So you have field description, the table that the name of the field, the table it comes from. This line here will be where we go to use sorts, and then this box shows whether or not you want to see it in the answer. Sometimes you put a field in here that you use but you don't want to see it, so you would uncheck that. And then here's where criteria shows up. Okay. Right now we're going to look at all of them, so we're just going to come up here to run on the ribbon, and we're now looking at the records, right? So here's all of our products, prices, and then the size of those products, right? There should be 25 records, and there is. If we come up here to view and click on the actual little button here with the ruler and the pencil and the triangle, we're going to click on that. It goes back to design view. We want to take size and move it to the left of product description. So the technique for doing that is you take your mouse, see how that's an arrow? I'm going to go until it's not an arrow, that it's a down black arrow, right? So not a pointy arrow, not an I-beam, but a black down arrow. Click, and now it selects that column. But now we want to use the arrow here, click and hold. And look when I click. If you could see me pointing, I'd be pointing to the left here. See how there's this line, and then next to the arrows there's a little box. So when you drag it, that line, wherever you drop that line, is where the field is going to be placed. So we want to take the size and move it to the left of product description. That's all we did, is reshuffled the order of those. So now if I run it, size will still have 25 records, but it should be size, product description, and then price. We're going to go ahead and save, and we're going to save this as QRY product product price list, and then OK and close. All right. So the next piece of this chapter, you need to really kind of read carefully. It talks about the multiplier effect. And so when you have multiple tables and they're not connected with a common field, you end up with what's known as the multiplier effect. So the example that they have here is if one table has 10,000 records and another table has 10,000 records, and there's nothing in common, you're going to get a query that has 100 million records, right? Because you're going to multiply it, because for every one of these records you're going to get one of those 10,000. Second record in this first table, 10,000, because you have no way to connect them. So you always need to make sure that there's some kind of join between tables that that you're going to do. And so one of the things that you want to become familiar with is what is the relationship of your tables. So to look at that, if we come up to database tools and relationships, once again, I like to see all my data. Excuse me. So you can see that employee is related to schedule, which is related to customer, which is related to invoice. And so employee ID, customer ID are the things that that join, right? So go ahead and close that out. We just wanted to show you where that was. So now what we want to have to figure out is, well, what do you want to put in there? And so you have to look at what pieces of information you want to show, and then where do those reside. So in this scenario, the staff would like to see all services scheduled for each employee. So we want employee information and we want stuff in the schedule, right? So we know we're going to have to pull those in there, employee and schedule. So we're going to create query and design. This time we're going to do employee add, schedule add, close. Notice that there is an automatic line between the two. It's in a one-to-many relationship. So we know we're not going to get that multiplier effect, right? So what we have to decide is, what do we want to know about this? And so usually you either know because it's your data or you have your user tell you. So we want first name, last name, service, so that's in the schedule, so we're going to do service, date of appointment, and the customer that they're having that appointment with. Okay, so if I run it, I should get 53, right? Even though if I look at the employee table, there's only 14 employees, but they're joined now with the customers that are using their service, right? So Joseph has different appointments here. So Joe Weaver has 1, 2, 3, 4 appointments. Lauren Evans has quite a bit, right? So you're connecting these two together. So now you can see everything. But if you look at employee, let's look at this one, Mariah Paul. If we look at this, there's no Mariah Paul employee. So one of the things you need to become aware of is that you only see things in common. If you have an employee who doesn't have any customers scheduled, they're never going to appear on here. Okay, so we're going to auto fit everything. And then we're going to save this as QRY employee schedule. And I believe if we look at our rubric for this employee, oh nope, got to keep going. Let's see, hold on. Employee schedule, we have one more to do. So I'm going to do one more movie. All right, for this first part. All right guys, thank you.